G'day beautiful souls, Nicole the Intuitive Messenger from Soul Wisdom Therapy, here with your daily guidance reading for the 25th of November 2022. So I was drawn to the Starseed Oracle deck today, and the card that was drawn for all of you lovely people is called the Great Severing. So this card's as it says, I'll read the little thing on the bottom because I understand that it's sort of back to front on the screen. So it's Mars energy, anger, conflict, and softening to love. So this is actually a shadow card, all right? And if you have been focusing on the daily guidance that's been coming up for the current week, it's all been about connecting to your divine self, connecting to your soul, feeling that love, all that type of thing. So it can be confusing because what's going to happen is when we start feeling that love, things which don't resonate to that, so a lower vibration, are actually going to show up in our life. Now these is there to show you that these aspects of ourselves need to be healed, okay? And we also grow from these experiences. So this is actually us. So if you are experiencing some negative emotions that are popping up, it's to go with the flow, okay? So, and perhaps instead of reacting to the current feelings, now come from a different perspective and have a look at these toxic or negative emotions and go, okay, and respond to them rather than react to them. So they're coming up to show you something about yourself that no longer serves you. And this could actually be an unconscious belief or pattern that you have about yourself that you've been carrying with you for this lifetime, and it could quite possibly have carried through from other lifetimes as well. Now, and the thing about these wounds too is that we can often inflict those wounds that we are suffering with, that we have, onto others. An example of that may be that one, perhaps you just never felt good enough in your life, and this would have more than likely began at home, that we were unable to meet the expectations of our parents. And just remember that our parents also had unrealistic expectations put on them. So depending on what generation you come from, I'm a Gen X, so I had boomer parents, and yeah, let's just leave it at that. Okay. So this is why, and then those wounds we then will often inflict on others. So whether it's our own children, and that's how the pattern begins. All right, so this is what this card's asking for you, just to have a little bit of introspection and recognize what's actually coming up and grow from this situation. And you know, look, if it's not feeling good enough, it can be, now that you've been connecting to your soul is saying, hey, you're perfect, you are good enough, you are all that you need. Okay, because your soul doesn't have that judgment. So when you're feeling and raising in that vibration up, connecting with your soul, and you have an unconscious belief about perhaps not feeling good enough, that's going to come up for you, okay, because it's not resonating with that new energy. So it may actually be about telling yourself, I am enough, I always have been enough, and I always will be enough. Okay. Your soul knows you best, and it is your spiritual inner authority, okay? Not anybody else, all right? Because everybody else is putting expectations on others from their own wounds. So it's also helpful to recognize that. If someone may be hurting you in your life, it's to also recognize that they are hurting also. All right. Doesn't excuse the behavior, okay? So I'm not saying that, but it's to recognize that. And once we start recognizing that in ourselves and deciding that, no, I am good enough, either one, you'll stop manifesting situations that are reflecting that back to you. And also, on the other hand, you will step up a level in self-confidence, self-esteem, and you'll learn to say, no, I'm sorry, but it's not okay for you to speak to me that way. And you may find yourself cutting off ties or spending less time with those sorts of people, which is totally fine, because when you remove that from your life, you are making space for new people to come in of that new higher vibration for you. It's really cool. Even though this is a shadow card, there's always the positive side of it as well. All right. So I guess things that you can probably sit with this is one. So how are you cutting yourself off from love? Okay, because I do understand sometimes these negative emotions often bring up that sense that we're not safe. It can bring up fears, and it can bring up anxiety. So then what we tend to do is then we withdraw, okay? And withdrawal can be just hiding in our house. It can be and through addictions, whether we're binge watching Netflix, whether we're drinking a bottle of wine every night, or attracting a relationship that is just physical, and it's just that need of wanting to be loved. However, it's actually not real love, okay? And then also by recognizing that if people are hurting you and that they are hurting, so how can you soften yourself towards those people? And then in turn, you're actually softening yourself for love. I hope that makes sense. But have a wondrous Friday, and I will see you again very, very soon. Blessings to you all. Bye.